In another terrible Supreme Court ruling, unions now can't recruit workers on California farms thanks to, the conservatives on the court who don't think that the private property of the farm owners should be violated by union organizers. So the vote on this particular case was 6-3, with the court's 3 liberal members in dissent. The decision did away with a major achievement of the farm workers movement that was led by Cesar Chavez in the 1970s, which had argued that allowing organizers to enter workplaces was the only practical way to give farm workers who are, they can be nomadic, they're sometimes poorly educated, a realistic opportunity or shot to consider joining a union. So the state regulation, by the way, issued in 1975, and unique in the nation, allows union organizers to meet with agricultural workers at work sites in the hour before and after work and during lunch breaks as many as 120 days a year. So that's now been struck down. The conservative justice's reasoning was this. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, said that the access regulation grants labor organizations a right to invade the grower's property. That meant, he wrote, that it was a taking of private property without just compensation. And look, I hate this ruling, but when you live in a capitalistic model that values private property over all else, this is the logical ruling. This is what you would get.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, that like, it's like, that it is coherent with the system in which we are living in. That was one of the things that was remarkable about Cesar Chavez, that he was able to push against, what is the such a the dominant prevailing thing, and actually won victories. And again, Cesar Chavez is one of these people who, like, the liberals kind of idealize in sort of a symbolic way, because he's like the Latino Martin Luther King in their mind, kind of thing. Obviously they don't really care about any of the fundamental things that he achieved, because where is the even like a sliver of coverage of this kind of thing? Like, just nothing on MSNBC or whatever. This is just not the kind of thing that they would ever touch. They would cover it if he was put on the $5 bill or something,
Totally.
That would be wall to wall coverage. But dismantling his entire legacy, who cares?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I think that's part of the reason why so many Democratic voters are starting to either become apathetic in regard to electoral politics or even adversarial, because the empty gestures are insulting, right? And I keep giving the example of the Black Lives Matter mural in front of Trump Tower. How did that benefit or improve anyone's life? It was just an empty gesture. Then they turn around and they do the exact opposite of what Black Lives Matter is asking for. So yeah, these empty gestures are ridiculous. You see it both in the media and among politicians. And so yeah, this is a trend. The court has in recent years, as reported by the New York Times, dealt blows to public unions and limited the ability of workers to band together to make legal action over workplace issues. At the same time, the court has been protective of property rights. And look, electoral politics, as frustrating as it is, matters, right? Strategic voting matters. I know that in 2016, people were kind of dismissive of the impact of a Trump presidency on the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court can strike down any of the gains made by organized labor in this country. We might be able to do everything right. People might organize, get lawmakers to pass the right legislation. But the Supreme Court, considering how pro-corporate and conservative it is, can just blow all of that up. So I don't want to be too negative or pessimistic, but this is just the reality of the situation.
So many things. I encourage everyone to look at look up our interview with Samuel Moyn, who is a scholar, expert on the court, and he talked about just how, what are the potential reforms to this kind of thing? Because you're right. Like, I mean, imagine if you can like flip a switch and we had like a massive militant labor movement, like the court would just strike down every single thing that they achieved. You don't have to like this concept that the court is like this kind of, this like law of God, that they could just like, like impose, like, is just not the reality. Like the president does have huge leeway in kind of basically ignoring the court. You can disempower the court, and you can pass even reforms in Congress that change the makeup of the court, or there's plenty of reforms. So I encourage everyone to check out the interview with Samuel Moyn. But the other thing that drives me crazy is, you're right, like every election cycle, the liberals kind of like are hyperventilating about the court, but once they're in power, you don't see the same sense of urgency about it. Like, it's just, Biden's in there and they have a slim majority in Senate. They, in theory, could nominate a Supreme Court. Well, they could expand the court, but like, Stephen Breyer is 81 years old. It's pretty likely that Mitch McConnell that the Senate is going to flip to the Republicans in 2022 at this point. I mean, it's not a given, but it's likely, maybe above 50% chance, or it's a coin flip at best. If that happens, there are no new Supreme Court justices nominated by Biden. It's just not going to happen. So there is no sense of urgency. There's just nothing. There's no like, once they're in power, it's the same thing that we talk about with the voting rights or anything like that. Like, they're hyperventilating when they're out of power, but then as soon as they're in power, it's just like, oh well, we just can't do anything about it. We can't do anything. We've been like yelling at you, hectoring you, like at an insane level for years, and then once we do the thing, and then you can't do anything about it. It just that kind of thing drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's going to drive you crazy when I do my Decode segment on the infrastructure bill, because,
can't wait.
On one hand, you have Democrats talk about how the Republican Party poses an existential threat to the United States, and then they turn around after winning these elections and they try to like force us to buy this nonsense talking point about the importance of bipartisanship. It's ridiculous.